Welcome. In this tutorial, we will be covering the process of getting your Sena LS100 gateway configured to communicate with the Zone Beacon application and your Centralite Elegance MCP. Just as a forewarning, I will be doing all of this on a Windows-based PC using a terminal program to communicate with Sena's LS100 gateway. You also need to have a free serial port on your computer. If you do not have a serial port on your computer, you can use a USB to serial adapter, such as I/O Gear's USB to serial adapter. Before we start communicating with the Sena LS100 gateway, we need to make sure that it is plugged into a power source and connected to your computer using a serial cable. Just to be clear, you should not be connecting an Ethernet cable to anything at this time. The serial plug looks very similar to a VGA monitor plug. Once you have connected your device to your computer and plugged it in, move the small red slider that's on the serial side of the unit over to console mode. This is to move the slider away from the serial plug. Now we are ready to begin. First, open a hyperterminal application or any other terminal application you choose. On Windows, you can find this by navigating through the Start menu to All Programs, onto Accessories, continuing through Communications, and finally to the hyperterminal application. If you do not have this application, you can download an alternate terminal program such as Hyperterm or TerraTerm, just to name a couple. Click on Hyperterminal to launch the application. Enter in a name for this connection. I will enter in Sena LS100 and go ahead and click OK. Now you must choose a COM port that your device is plugged into. This will most likely be COM port 1. If this does not work, try incrementing the COM port until you find the correct COM port for your computer and click OK. The next screen, it will ask you for the port settings to communicate with. You should select 9600 for bits per second, 8 for data bits, none for parity, 1 for stop bits, and none for flow control. These are the settings to communicate with your Sena LS100 gateway. And these are not the settings that we are actually trying to attempt to set inside of the LS100 gateway. Go ahead and click OK. You should see a blinking cursor inside the white area on the screen. Click the Enter key on your keyboard to request the login input. You should enter in admin in all lowercase letters and then press the Enter key. You must now enter in admin one more time in all lowercase letters. This time it's for the password. Follow this by pressing the Enter key. While doing this, to make sure that you do not press the spacebar or any other keys, as these extra keystrokes will invalidate the username or password. If you have not entered in the correct username or password, try again until you get in. Once you are in, you will see a message that reads, "Type help to get command usages." We will be entering in our IP information into the LS100 gateway in a second, but before we do, we need to calculate an IP address that is free for us to use. To do this, add 100 plus the number of estimated devices that are connected to your network, both wired and wireless, and then add 10 for safety of missing a few of the devices you not have thought of. This should give you the last digits in the IP address that should be free for us to use. Now type exactly the following in all lowercase letters. Set space IP space static space 192.168.1 the value you calculated. For me, it was 150 space 255.255.255.0 space 192.168.1.1. The first IP address is the address that you want the LS100 device to be. The second IP address is the subnet mask. And the third is the router gateway address. 192.168.1.1 is a typical gateway address. If you have problems, you may want to try the other common gateway address, which is 192.168.0.1. Once everything is entered in, press the Enter key to submit this information to the LS100 gateway. Type GET space IP to confirm that you have made these changes. Now type set space host space TCPS space 11000 space 300 and go ahead and hit enter. The first number is the port number that you would actually like to use to communicate with. This can be any number greater than 1024 and less than 65536. The second number is the timeout value in milliseconds. Once again, to check to make sure that you have entered in this information, go ahead and type GET host. The last bit of information that we must enter is the serial settings for the LS100 to communicate with your Central Elegance MCP. Type set space serial space 19200 space 8 space N space 1 space N space H space N space 10. Go ahead and press enter to submit this information. Once again, you can check to make sure that this information was entered by typing get space serial. Now go ahead and type save and press enter and type reboot. Press the enter key one more time and you are done with doing anything to your Sena LS100 device. Now go ahead and disconnect your LS100 from your computer. Connect your LS100 to your third-party port found on your Central Elegance MCP via a serial cable, and connect an Ethernet cable from your router to your LS100 device. Lastly, do not forget to switch the slider back to the data mode. This is done by moving the slider toward the serial plug. And once again, thank you for choosing Zone Beacon.